Your man Christy Z here, Astrology Universe LLC. This is gonna be another live stream. I'm gonna do this very early, waking up in the morning, because I felt like I just needed to do it. It's been a little minute since I did another live stream. I usually try to do them about once a week, maybe once every week and a half. But today I felt like I really needed to do it. So I'm going to be going in, and if you want to find me on any platform besides YouTube, Astrology Universe LLC on TikTok, CDESIR 100 on Facebook and Instagram. You'll find me there. You'll find me there. And I post content all day or every single day consistently because there's more than enough. There's always more than enough astrology. You're never going to run out of things to post when you learn how to do astrology. It will always keep you interested. You'll never go bored with it. And today I'm going to be going in for the next hour, maybe even two, to finally get it off my chest. Because when you're feeling down or out, speaking on the astrology that you learned over time really picks you back up and gets you into the move or grid of things. All right? So shout out to all my early listeners. And to give kind of a foresight of what has been happening. Past 5 days, I've been really experiencing the energy. As of right now, it has only been, let's see, I think it was on the 22nd. So 1, 2, so if you go before, as of today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9 to 10. It's been 9 to 10 days since my last solar return, and I'm in my P12 perfection. No, I'm in my perfection, sorry. I'm in my 12th house perfection. Being that I'm a Virgo rising, that puts my sun in my 12th house. Now the sun is fun, enjoyment, childlike things. So for these past 5 days, as I've been now sitting in this energy of my solar return, I'm starting to realize things that I wouldn't have realized if I was any younger, or I wouldn't have realized if I was an astrologer. Because as a child growing up, there were many, many patterns that I could see happening in my own life. I would read books on psychology, books like, let's see if I can find it for you, Psycho-Cybernetics. I would read books like Psycho-Cybernetics. If anybody wants to see this book right here. And all of these books that I buy were mindset-changing books, mind-opening books I would buy in the past that would speak about people getting stuck in their patterns. People getting stuck in negative beliefs, negative mindsets, and redoing the same things over and over and over again. I didn't even know there was an astrological tie or answer behind all of these things that we do. All I know was there were certain patterns that I was doing, waking up late, not being passionate about my schoolwork, my friends, my relationships, just being utterly lazy on some occasions, or diving into habits that weren't really the most progressive for me growing up as a child. And I never understood why I couldn't find passion in anything, or why I would always end up in these cycles over and over and over again. All I would know is certain people who were writing these books would speak of said patterns and be like, these are the negative beliefs that keep majority of the populace down and stops the majority of the populace from living the life of a multi-millionaire or somebody who's quote-unquote happy. Come now to fast forwarding about the end of 2021, like the last month of 2021 going into 2022, that's when I started to finally take astrology seriously. That's when I finally started to realize the impact of what I'm trying to get into, what I'm trying to learn. Took me about a month, but by February of 2022, I've been on that road and I've never gone back. Pretty much every single day, at most missing 1 or 2 days max. I don't think I've missed 3 days straight of astrology since last February, pretty much. I don't think I've missed more than 3 days. In some way, shape, or form, whether I'm writing it down, I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm reading, I'm at least every single day thinking of something astrological, because you can't escape it. It defines everything in this universe. And when it comes to these patterns, I've realized something. Your patterns never really go away. The patterns of your life, the patterns of how you act never really go away. They can change how they manifest, but the pattern in itself does not change. What do I mean by that? And if you know about astrology, and I need to see if Facebook has a feature. Let's see, not Facebook, let's see if Instagram has a feature. Instagram needs a feature just like TikTok Live, where you can post, you can green screen your background so you can show people what you're trying to say, or post the pictures on screen. Let's see if they have that. I don't think they do. So it's not going to be that important right now because I could always pull up a picture and show you. But this is going to be how the patterns in your life that you go through change. Let me tell you an example. Mars points to fire. Mars points towards anger. These are two traits. One is could be considered negative, and the other one can be technically considered neutral. Fire could be a good or a bad thing, but in most part, if people see fire, that usually means a bad thing. In most schools of astrology, Mars is considered a malefic. That usually tends to be a bad thing. But here's the thing about that too. Mars also points to your action, your drive, your intent. The same word that points towards, or not the word, the same planet, the same 30 degrees of space that govern a part of our solar system, a physical dimension of 30 degrees of space that that can take anywhere from 27 to possibly 33 days in real life every single year to go through. That distance that we travel, that particular distance in that particular area that we travel, and a planet in the actual sky that goes around in a circle, in an orbit, just like we do, in that same circle, they both point to, and specifically, if you're talking about from our perspective here on the planet Earth, the house, which is another 30-degree fractal relative to the planet that we are on right now. That's about 3 indications right there that you can look towards, that all point to anger, fire, drive, and action. Let's drop fire for a second. Let's look at 2 emotional words that can describe somebody, that can describe somebody's psyche, somebody's mentality, right? That can describe somebody's spiritual system and how they act and how they go about doing things, right? You can see that when you think about it, the Most High, the universal creator, the intelligent design, God, even if you want to say, designed a world where there are 2 sides of the same coin. How do you know, or let me say it this way to make it more easy. You're not mad 24/7. You're not mad 365 days of the year, 360 degrees. You're not mad for that long. Nobody has ever lived this life and say from the moment I was born, took my first breath to the moment I died, there was not a single solitary moment where I wasn't mad. You see, that's not real. You got to understand. Sometimes you have drive, you're driven, you're action oriented. It's something you got to do and you go and do it. You're active about something. You're active, period. You're running, you're jumping, you're writing, you're texting. The act of doing something, going out, starting, and doing something. People do that every day. People start their day. People have ambition, have drive, have things that they have to do. every single day. And sometimes you could do both. It's like if you're at a sporting event or you're playing a sport, sometimes in the middle of the game you can get mad. You're playing a sport or you're active right now, you're exercising, you're doing something that's making you active, you're going to work, you're starting the day, and you can start off the day mad. Sometimes it's both. Little side note, astrology is not some hocus pocus thing that lets you escape reality. No, it is a tool. It is a scientific measurement tool that allows you to measure your life, your experiences. It allows you to understand the world that you're already living in. Astrology doesn't warp the world around you per se. Per se. Astrology helps you to understand the life that is already written before you. It helps you to know more. And I find that to be very, very useful. There are certain people or certain schools that would say, and this is a side note, I'm getting back to the main point. I've heard certain gurus online and things of that nature say, what is the point of learning astrology? What is the point of learning when something bad is gonna happen to you? When your mother's gonna die, when your father's gonna die. I don't want that stress on my life. There's no point in learning astrology. And I've also heard that there have been astrologers that have quit doing astrology to become monks and gurus and things of that nature and intent. And these have been astrologers for 50, 60 some odd years. Those people, I can give a little bit of leeway, but even then, not for me. Or at least I haven't been through that many years to say that. But some of these gurus who make statements like the first one have never done astrology a day in their lives. Because that's an ignorant thing to say. You would use astrology to only see the bad in your life. No. You know astrology can be used to see when you're gonna have good moments as well. Correct? You know you can look and see that if you're about to have a good day coming up or not. Correct? Potentially you're gonna have a good day. Potentially you could have a good day that day. You could learn that something is gonna shock you, surprise you. Matter of fact, you can learn things about your family members too. Are they gonna have a good day today? Are they gonna have a bad day today? And is that going to affect you? You can do this on your friends, family members, bosses, co-workers. You see how useful or how much utility you can get out of astrology once you start doing it? Because nobody living in 2023, in this age of Aquarius, some people say Pisces. I don't use the vernal point to do my readings. I don't use the vernal point. I use the equinoctial point. The start, not the apex. I use the start. And that would land us in the age of Aquarius right now. I'm not going into full detail at this very second. I'm cooking right now, so I'm gonna keep going. You come to realize that when it comes to astrology, nobody is going to say, I want to be dumber or I want to have less knowledge on what's coming up in my life. Who says that? For example, you go to a restaurant every single day. You love that restaurant. It's something you go to or you interact with, right? You take your family, your friends, whatever the case may be. Now you run into somebody who can tell you, hey, I know the manager of the restaurant. We're actually close friends. And you know what? I think you're cool. I like you. I'm gonna tell you something, right? I'm gonna tell you something. You should know what I'm about to tell you. If you walk into the restaurant and you say, I'm friends with Jim so and so, the manager's gonna let you eat there for free from now on. Like a family. It's a family thing now, because you close. If you know that name, you know me, you feel me, I got you in. Even if you don't use it every day, even if you don't use it every time, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want more information, or a helpful tool that can help you in the moment? If you go into your local grocery store and they're going to have a major discount, you're not going to take it? If somebody told you, if you come to the store on XYZ day, like you're planning to go to the grocery store, you're thinking, I want to have it this day versus that day. I want to go this day versus that day. And somebody tells you, if you go on the first day instead, there's going to be a major discount that day. You're not going to pick the day with the discount? Obviously, like you said, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And this applies to anything. When people think of astrology, they get confused in the way they think. They start stepping over themselves in the way that they think. One, the first thing I get from most people, I personally get is too much to know. I personally get is too much to know. Well, you're not going to know everything. You'll never in this life know everything. That's just not possible. No matter what you do, you'll never know everything. You can claim to know everything about a subject, but you will never know everything. So the have the fear, it is too much to know, is kind of a mute point. You try to learn with astrology, or this is what I advocate. This is why I got into astrology. Learn as much you need for it to be valuable to your life. Some people only need to get to the point, or I'm sorry, a majority of the people only need to get to the point where they can use it for natal chart readings. They pay people to come to them for natal chart readings. And they may get that once a month, once a year, or some people might fall in love with the community or the astrologer that they're with, and check into all of their content and get readings from there even once a week and kind of use them like a therapist. But if you get to that level, if you even get to that level, by that point in time, you're asking different questions. There's only so much you can do with a birth chart reading, a natal chart reading. How many times you're gonna hear you're quick tempered, you love sweets, you are a person who can get very emotional when it comes towards talking about your father, or when it comes to working in the education space. How many times can you hear that same thing over and over again? Some people go to different astrologers and have them read their chart to see what they're going to say different from somebody else. I've heard that too. That's a common thing too. And you're trying to, and at that point, if you're doing that, it's not that you don't believe, or it's not that you're trying to hear your natal chart over and over and over again. That's part of the reason. But the main thing you're really trying to do underlying is figure out if astrology is really consistent or not. Does the system really work? You're trying to pick at it to see, wow, is this true about me? I mean, it's not even is this true about me. Is this science really true? Is this science really, really true? If I go to a different astrologer that's from the last, can they tell me the exact same thing about me? That's what I did too. I didn't go to 70, 80 different astrologers. I already knew astrology was real. I wanted to jump from astrologer to astrologer who knew more. I wanted to go from this astrologer to the next because this one knew more than the last one. I already had a little jump in the game because I already pre-told myself, yeah, I believe in this. It makes sense to me. I don't know why it isn't. Books like this taught me in the first place. Psychology books taught me in the first place how to keep an open mind and believe and manifest what you want. So I decided to say, so I took not even an oath, I took a mental philosophy, um what's the word I'm trying to use, self program that I put. I said, well, if you believe in something and you manifest it, I'm just gonna believe everything, basically. I'm just believe everything that sounds sweet to me, whenever it get presented to me. And since I believe it already, it's gonna pre-open me to want to put in the work, to get in the habits, get in the right space, or whatever the case may be, and I'll be fine. So I was doing that around high school. I was doing that around high school to college. And I'm not gonna lie, you don't want to do that in every scenario and situation, believe everything you hear or see. But at the end of the day, you won't know until you get experience with it. You won't know until you find somebody who's done it before you, or you've done it yourself and you've, lived through the consequences, good or bad. That's just how life works. And coming to that conclusion, astrology is for a fact a tool that can give you an advantage in life. People can, besides getting crossed over with wanting to just read their natal chart or figure out how astrology works, once you realize or figure out there's only so much that can be said or done with your natal chart, some people stop right there. Some people only think to only think to believe astrology can only read your natal chart, can only tell you about yourself, your emotional state, your physical. There are astrologers, too many, I say, whose entire brand is the based upon the delineation aspect of astrology. They open a book, they have their own books, their own sources of reading that they've collected over the years, which are other people's opinions and findings on astrology. And they use other people's opinions and findings on astrology that they've read to go about giving their readings. And 9 times out of 10, it will only, well, I'm gonna say 8 times out of 10, what they read will only apply towards the emotional state of the person that they're reading, their emotions, how they felt in a situation, uh, um, maybe some things about past lives or things of that nature and intent too. And again, there's only so much you can do with that. If you're a quick-tempered person, all astrology is going to do is confirm that for you. You know that. And but most people who come for a reading, especially the first time, think that's only as much as astrology can do. And the reason that is because most astrologers think that way too. Or most so-called today astrologers think that way too. And that is all it could be used for. And because even the astrologer themselves think that is the only thing it could be used for, though that is the main thing, if not the only thing that they ever advertise, preach, put on the internet. You can go to any astrology meme page on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, um, what other places? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, you can go on any other major social media website platform, go to an astrology page, search up your sun sign or whatever, because people do this too. I love Leos, or I'm a Leo, I love myself, and I hate Scorpios. I hate Scorpios. My ex was a Scorpio. I don't know why Scorpios have so much problems with me. People do that too. People say, oh, you're Gemini, you're immediately Two-Faced. People pick up certain words and phrases that they hear in the culture, they hear floating around other people's dialect and how they speak, and they're like, oh, that must be all there is to astrology too. And for most people nowadays, it might start off like that, then you work your way to the natal chart reading, and then if you get above that point, congratulations, you're already a better fanatic for astrology than you think. If you can even get above the natal chart reading point, where all you ever want to do or all you want to do or know is that astrology is can be used to read your natal chart, congratulations. Congratulations. I applaud you. Because let's get into it. Finally, sooner or later, if you're in the community long enough, I'm not going to act like I did this overnight. No one does. Remember what I said in the beginning? People think that trying to learn astrology is too much. No one does. No one gets this overnight. No one has ever done it. No one ever will. But the things we do know how to do, the things that we have figured out how to do, are universal and will never change. They have been that way. We've been had the ability to do those things for as far back as you can possibly think or imagine. And in reality, depending on how old you think this world is and how far back you believe that we go, we've had the ability to do it. We've had the ability to do it, and then some. Promise you. A good book to read about the age and history of the world too is this book. I'm trying to get the lens flare out. There you go. Serpent in the Sky. It's not all words. It has a beautiful cover. It has a beautiful cover. It has pictures in it too. Let's see if I can find some. It has pictures in it too. You can go and break it down. It gives little breakdowns, side synopsises on the math of the pyramids. Whoop, there you go. It has picture tools, side synopsis on the math of the pyramids, as you can see. You got the astrology in there. It has the astrological symbols. It'll teach you about the ancient Nile. It'll show you slightly smaller formulas you can try yourself. Breaking down everything about ancient Egypt and the way that it goes. Wonderful book to get. Wonderful book to get. Wonderful book to get. And it's books like those that I read that opened my mind, because books like that will teach you that depending on the person's mindset, their mind state will determine how far they get in life in general. It teaches you that certain people will have biases because they believe the world can only work the way that they have learned it to function. The world has how it operates around them. They believe that that is the only way the world works. So when they find any bit of information that challenges that, they immediately, without second nature, try to deny, block, or write off whatever they find. This is a common human thing that people do. It's called a paradigm. A paradigm is how you view the world. People don't like change. People don't like to admit they're wrong. People don't like improvement. People is the sign of Aquarius. The 8th house of Aquarius, the 8th house points to hate, jealousy, resentment. It points to really not liking somebody. It points to hate. The 8th sign from Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of humanity, people, is Virgo. Virgo is criticism. Virgo is improvement. Humanity does not like improvement, does not like to improve, does not like to change. That is universal. Don't take this personal. If you are an Aquarius and you have a Virgo friend, that doesn't mean you necessarily hate your Virgo friend. But I guarantee you possibly have had moments in time where they've done something that you did that they had a grudge against you for. You've had a grudge against them. You can still love them to death. Hell, you can even love them to death. That might be your ride and die. There's an intensity there, some sort of manifestation of that energy. Because remember what I told you earlier, that energy carries over. Sometimes it's one energy like anger, Mars, or it's another energy like action, taking action, also Mars. One planet could point to the exact same thing, and in most instances, it could mean both at the same time. It can mean both at the same time. And if it means that, when it means both at the same time, or even more than two. This is what I mean and when I say you cannot beat or break your patterns. You cannot beat or break your patterns. When people talk about I made a miraculous or marvelous change in my life, what had actually happened is this. You didn't break the patterns necessarily that you had before. What happens is you changed the particular way the energy manifests in said pattern. That was a mouthful. Let's break it down. Somebody could have had an alcohol addiction. Somebody could have had an alcohol addiction. That's 12th house. And they could have a planet sitting in the 12th house. So every time, and guess what? They could have had a planet sitting on the 12th house. They could have had a planet sitting on the 12th cusp. That works as well too. Or they could have had a degree. They could have had a planet, any planet, in Pisces at whatever degree. Because what people don't know about these patterns is you fall into your patterns every single month. There is a specific day every single month where you're going to find yourself going back and doing the same things that you do. And this isn't something new or shocking. It's called a routine. It's called your habits. Everybody knows what a habit is. Everybody has their routines. Whether they're unhealthy habits or... Here, I'll bring you another book too you can check out. This is just going to be book day. This is just going to be book day. Where is it? Another book I have. Atomic Habits. Read the title. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Come on now. Simple as that. What are you trying to do if you're trying to better yourself? You're trying to break your bad habits and build good ones. You don't throw habits away. That's not possible. You can wake up at 12. You could go to sleep at 3 a.m. and wake up at 3 p.m. every single day. Buy a pizza, leave the box on the floor in your room. Shower like once every week. Those are habits. If you do it more than one time or you continually do something good or bad, that's a habit. You know what else is habits? Virgo. Virgo. Humans can hate to change their habits. And at the same time, humans lust after their habits, desires, routines. They have a desire and urge for their habits. Because that is also Virgo. You see how the energies are multiple? There is no clear-cut black and white anything. So if a person used to have a drug problem or an alcoholic, 12th house, and they have a planet in Pisces at a degree, once you break the habit, what happens then? If every time you had a Neptune, which also rules Pisces, and you have a Neptune bare minimum once a month, because the sun is gonna come back around and touch your Neptune degree once a month, every single month, without fail. Now, when you're in that Neptune energy, and you used to spend all that time in that energy drinking, let me tell you, when you change that habit, what happens then? What do you do instead? When that energy comes back around, because this is what astrology lets you do. Once you get over the natal chart phase, you start asking a different question. Once you get over looking at your birth chart, looking at the natal chart, you start asking a different question. You start asking when. An astrologer tells you, oh, you are a person who's quick to anger and temper. Well, okay, when? When am I gonna get angry? Or you're a person who's gonna quick to get into emotional distress. Oh, Mr. Astrologer, I've been going through so much of this emotional stress these past 2, 3 weeks, these past 2, 3 months, 2, 3 years. Da 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 da. How do I get over it? How do I get over it? When do I get over it? And this is what most astrologers are gonna do. They try to give you some motivational pep talk. I'm not gonna lie. That in itself doesn't do much. It's not like you're a therapist unless you happen to be a therapist and also an astrologer. It's not like you're necessarily a therapist. But if somebody asks you, when is the next time, you know, I'm gonna be going through this trauma or whatever, or better yet, oh, I'm going through trauma right now. Maybe they know what was causing their trauma. Maybe they say, oh, I'm going through trauma right now because of my relationships. I'm lonely. I want to find a partner. Please tell me, Mr. Astrologer, when is the next time I'm going to find a partner? That's a question I know for a fact astrologers besides me get. Most people, when they come to astrology outside of their natal chart, they want to know about their income, their marital status, and things about their career. Those are the three biggest things: income, marital status, and career. Possibly if you want to throw in children or an event coming up too, but those are lesser things. People want to know when something is going to happen. And if you're an astrologer and you can't answer that, that's a problem. That's a problem. That shows you're lacking in your study. Just because you won't know everything when it comes to astrology doesn't mean that you stop learning. Some people are called students for life because they always go back to school. Nobody has a problem if a female or a male were to do that. But when you talk about astrology, oh, it's too much and now you're too scared to learn more. That's the Virgo in me coming out, and I have to criticize you for that. I already prefaced you, but now I have to I already prefaced you that that's how the universe plays out. That's how it works. Now I have to come for you for real, because I want you to improve. Whether you know nothing about astrology or you're a person who's been doing it for 20 years, now I need you to improve. Or now I'm going to make you get to a point where you want to improve. Or you need to, even better, you need to improve. Because wants and your needs are Taurus. They're both Taurus. One is a lesser extent, I want something. One is a major extent, I need this. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a new chain. I want a girlfriend. I need food. I need sunlight. I need oxygen. You don't debate that, but they're both given indication by the sign of Taurus, like I said. So when they ask you when and you don't know, how do you react? How do you respond? And this is where I fall apart. This is where it gets me personally mad. This is where it gets me personally mad. When you lie. I have Mars, anger, in the place of Gemini. Gemini's telling the truth, but it's also lying. Gemini's telling the truth, but it could also be lying. Sometimes people could say Neptune points to lying as well. But if you want to say that, okay, I get mad over the truth. I get active, passionate over the truth. So when I find astrologers who clearly don't know the answer to something, and they try to save face, save their brand, save their status over telling the client straight up, I have a massive problem with that. Because you're effectively lying to people. If you don't know something as an astrologer, be upfront with it. Tell your client that's not part of the reading. Tell your client that is not what I signed up to give you here today. Tell your client, if you really, if you bold, if you humble enough, I'm not saying you have to outright tell them, yeah, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Remember what I told you, humans don't like to improve. Humans hate improvement in some points in time. Sometimes you can be obsessed with improvement, or sometimes people can just outright hate it. They hate criticism, they hate being wrong, they hate knowing that they go back and do something. They hate it naturally, or majority of people naturally will do that. I still say to them, even if you're not gonna outright say, I don't know what to do, because nobody, especially if you have a business or you have a hobby that you do for a long time or for a full time and people pay you, nobody wants to get caught with their pants down. It's not fun. Nobody wants to get caught with their pants down. It's just not fun. It's not fun. It doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're supposed to be a professional in a craft or field and you don't know an answer, nobody wants to get caught with their pants down. Cause that leaves room for everybody to doubt you. That leaves room for everybody to doubt you. I get it. Trust me, I do. That doesn't change the fact that you are putting yourself above. You're putting yourself above the client. There's an old phrase or saying that I abide by, and it's like the customer comes first. The customer comes first, because without your customers, no matter what you do, you wouldn't be in business in the first place. You wouldn't be able to make that monetary income that you make in the first place, no matter what job, career field you have. Without them, you ain't got anything. So to do wrong by them is only potentially going to hurt you in the future. And I've explained this before on a live stream I had. I got into astrology for about a year, almost 2 years at that point technically. But I was watching other astrologers, coming to understand what astrology can do, thinking about what astrology can do for about a year before I even decided, you know what, I'm gonna become an astrologer myself and do this for real. A year. And I realized most of these astrologers on the internet that I'm learning from, I can't read a chart. Most of them, I can't read a chart. They all of these courses I'm buying from them, I can't read. I can't read the chart. I have all these words or these key. I don't even have a list of keywords. All I knew is these astrologers that I was watching on the internet, for the most part, most of them were just reading out of a book. They just read something out of a book, and they didn't even explain it properly. Because if they really did explain it properly, um, their courses would actually teach you correctly how to read. Somebody that's trying to become an actual astrologer, if you try to use those courses, you're not gonna learn how to read. They can't teach you how to read. As much as you get out of a book, as much as you get out of a book, if you do not apply what is in said book, you're out of luck. You're out of luck. If you can't even apply what you have read, you are out of luck. I'm sorry, because you don't know, or you did not think about, maybe this person who wrote this book, maybe they were wrong. Or maybe this person who wrote this book, that was written in 19 or that was written in the 1800s, or written in the early 1900s, maybe they're not up to culture with modern day. You never thought about that? Maybe this person who wrote this book from over 1500 years ago on the Bible, maybe they don't know a little bit too much about what's happening today in 2023. Maybe they don't. Maybe that book's kind of outdated. You never thought about that? And sadly, the answer is no. But it gets to that point where when you lie to your client or you make up an answer, you don't want that because people take your word. People rely on you. People take your word. And if you just start lying to people to save your face, and you know, and if you truly believe you're not going to get away with it, you're screwing over your customer base. What you're doing now is not a service, but taking advantage. Now you're going into scorpionic energy, eighth house energy again. I'm not even not trying to necessarily relate this to the eighth house, but you see how astrology just comes into play? Now you're taking advantage. Now you have a hold. Now you're influenced. No, it's not influence. Now you're manipulating people. When people trust you and rely on you, and you have them in the palm of your hands, you're in a position of power. Do you have the power to let power go? And for most people, the answer is no. Once you get your hold on power, you don't want to let it go. And you're gonna abuse it when you can, or use advantage of it when you can. Here's a niche thing you won't hear in astrology that majority of astrologers won't tell you, because they don't even know. Anything you can say about the zodiac sign of Scorpio, which rules the 8th house, and Pluto, and in some schools Mars. You can also say about the zodiac sign of Virgo, which rules the 6th house and rules the planet Mercury. The zodiac sign of Scorpio has Aries, the first zodiac sign, in the 6th house. Virgo rules the 6th house. Virgo has the zodiac sign of Aries in the 8th house. Scorpio rules the 8th house. Scorpio has the sign of Taurus in the 7th house. Virgo had the sign of Taurus in the 9th. What is that? What is that? Why is that one relevant? The 2nd house of Virgo is Libra. Libra rules the 7th. Scorpio has Taurus, which is the 2nd zodiac sign, in the 7th house. The 7th house rules Libra. Virgo has Libra in the place of the 2nd zodiac sign. So 2 and 7, 7 and 2. And it follows this exact same pattern with every single last zodiac sign going around with both of them. And when you come to realize that, or if you come to play with it yourself until you make it work, because if you think you're going to learn astrology from just watching me, that is never going to happen. I do math. I calculate formulas every single day. This is handwritten mathematical formulas that I calculate every single day. You're not going to find this on any astrology website. You're not going to find it in a book. I had to pay a veteran astrologer to teach me how to do this. And I'm learning from a particular school of cosmophysics. That is a particular school I'm learning from. Now, I wouldn't consider myself a full-fledged one. I'm one in training still. Because like an actual school, Like in the actual university, I need to have a research paper done. Sooner or later, I need to actually sit down, pick a subject to study in real life, pick an actual real life phenomena, and study it. And it's probably going to take me about a year. Probably I'm going to have to track it over 360 degrees to get a full picture. But the good thing is this: you can take however long as you want. You can take however as long as you want, because I'm still playing with the tools that I've learned or acquired. I'm not even using all of them. Technically, I'm not even done. Technically, I have more classes I have to go back and take. I'm just at a point right now where I know enough to give readings successfully and to host live streams like this. I know just enough to do that. And I enjoy it when I enjoy what I do. I genuinely enjoy doing this too. Virgo is improvement. Scorpio is regeneration. Virgo is to be better. Scorpio is to have power. Virgo is the critic. Scorpio is the hater. Don't people usually call critics haters? Or don't people usually consider haters to be critics? Aren't in most cases those words synonymous? They can be associated with one another. They are regularly used with one another. Everybody hates a critic. Isn't that a phrase? Everybody's a critic. Everybody wants to be a critic. Everybody hates a critic. Isn't that a phrase? I didn't make these up. These just align astrologically. And I don't even know if the people who made or coined said phrases even knew the astrology themselves. Astrology is a tool that lets you understand the life around you and why we do what we do. Whether you're talking about your emotional state or you're talking about just everyday conversations or you're predicting things in the future, it can show you how to do it all. So when astrologers or so-called astrologers lie to save face, you're accumulating karma. Everything you do accumulates karma. What is karma? Your actions have consequences. A equals B, or A leads to B, which leads into C. Still don't get what I mean? I plant a crop in the spring and I get to reap the harvest in the summer. That's as plain as it gets. I put in 6 months to a year's work of worth in the gym. Now my body is strong, in shape, and considered sexy. That is karma in its nutshell. That is what karma is. One action leads into another. So think about it that way. You lying to your clients or you're abusing your clients' care. You may get a couple, but sooner or later a client of yours is going to see past your rules and call you out on it. You did it to yourself. Don't get mad when the consequences of your actions come back to bite you. All I could ask everybody is to realize, okay, what I did here and then was a mistake, Pisces, and it caused a bad consequence, a karmic consequence, Pisces, 12th house, Neptune, in some cases Jupiter, to happen to me. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? And I wish it were that easy, but people will fight you, argue with you, even though they know for a fact they're wrong. They just argue with you to win the argument. Because people hate criticism. They hate change. They hate having to realize, oh, I'm not done yet and I gotta do more. But when you start trying to convince other people to take the same route as you when it comes to your own shortcomings, that's a problem. You're gonna limit other people or try to you're gonna limit other people. Basically, you're trying to limit other people to make yourself feel better about being limited in a space yourself. Come on now. That's salty. That's salty. That's very salty. That is very um hater-ish, if I were to say it so myself. That's very, very salty behavior. Like that just comes off as you mad or you bitter because you can't do it, or you don't want to put in the time or energy to do it. So you try to convince other people. Bare minimum, say that ain't the branch of astrology I gotta do. Go try it at your own risk. That's all you gotta say. That's all you gotta say. Well, people will go out their way to make content, spend years of their life trying to convince people not to do X, Y, and Z because they just don't want to admit they can't do everything themselves. And astrology's helped me to see that. And astrology's also helped me to come see that when it comes to patterns in my own life, coming back to what I said earlier, if you are drinking or anything of that nature and intent, right? If you're drinking or anything of that nature and intent, and sorry, I want to show you guys a little bit more math. This is just some of the math I have. Paper, top of papers, all handwritten. You're not gonna find this in the book. I wrote these by hand. Some of these formulas you might find, you might actually find some of these concepts in a book, but the way I applied them, you're not gonna find it that way. All written by, that was some crazy stuff I just showed you. You're not gonna understand that. I barely understand that, and I do this every day. You're not even gonna understand what I just showed you. And this is constant work every single day. This is constant work every single day. So that's why I know I finally acquired a skill that most people don't have. But again, I don't want to ever put myself in a scenario where I'm going to be screwing over my client base. Because I am of the belief, if you treat your client base right, even though you may not have a large following, even though you may not have a massive populace, if you are real to your client base, no matter how small, you will always have food on your table. You're always going to have a business. If you are honest and you are real with your client base, you're always going to have a business. This is why I also make live streams like this, to let you know I am a great astrologer, and it is my goal to be one of the greats, one that's going to be remembered before I'm gone. That is one of my goals. That is one of my goals. And all it takes is consistency. It takes consistency to continue to learn, to continue to practice, to continue applying things that you find. Continue measuring like a scientist, like a genuine scientist. Not these people who go to school and learn about the science and get a PhD or whatever the case may be. You're not necessarily a scientist. You're a practitioner, but you're not necessarily a scientist. You're not out in the field discovering new things. You are a master when it comes to learning, or you have mastered what was already discovered. You've mastered a variety of plethora of things that was already found out and discovered by others, by other actual scientists. But you yourself are not a scientist in yourself because you haven't discovered anything. You don't practice, you don't apply, you don't go out your way. You just wait until it becomes nomenclature, or you wait until it becomes the norm to do it already. You're not in the field. You're not a first responder to go be like, you know what, let me go try this out and see if it works. Your name is not going to be written in the history books per se. But you will be, just like a majority of other people, recognized in your life, in your field, by your family, your closest friends, things of that nature. And sometimes that's all a person ever needs. Sometimes that's all a person ever needs. But it is in your birth chart already to what level or what extent you will go. The 10th house points to fame. The 10th house points to reputation, status. I have the sun conjunct the 10th cusp. My sun, my personality, my motive is conjunct the 10th cusp, which points to status, fame, reputation. Since I was a child, I've always known, and you always know what you're going to do, what you're going to be in life. You always know. It doesn't take that long. It takes only a couple years before, when your brain starts finally developing and you start realizing, yeah, this is what I want to do. It's only later in life when you come to learn the astrology that this is what you were going to do. For real. Because most people don't know. But what happens when you finally start changing your habits, and your mindset starts opening, because you get rid of these limiting beliefs that I must be right, I must put on a show, I must save face, because all these things limit your beliefs. They limit your beliefs, they limit your mindset, they really shut you off from how the world really works, and you start living in your own bubble, your own wonderland. And I don't think that's healthy. That really disconnects you from how the world works. I don't think that's necessarily healthy, but again, it's already in your chart, shows potentially what type of energies and what type of things you're going to fall into in your life. Not everybody's meant to be for the world per se. You see what I'm saying? And just because you have those placements in your chart doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do it. But if you're a person who naturally has that drive already, who's to stop you? If the energy if the way you are acting aligns with the chart that you're doing, how are you going to turn that off? How are you going to turn that off? This is another thing I don't really like when people say. When people go off and say, oh, you don't really have to act like that, you don't really have to do that. But if you are naturally like that, you've been like that your entire life, how are people going to tell you you don't have to do it? If this is something you just started last week, a year or two ago, that's fine. Then okay, you can switch it up again. But if you've been doing it for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years at that point, and you're still adamant about doing it, you've always been that way, to be honest. Like I said, you just didn't realize you switched up the energy. So what do you do every time that energy comes back around and you have the urge to drink, but you changed up your life? You replaced it with a different energy. Pisces points towards drug usage, alcoholism, for example. But Pisces also points to healing, tranquility. You may go to an AA meeting, a place where you're supposed to heal and talk to friends and do better. That's also Pisces. You may start drinking tea, herbal teas instead, and doing more spiritual practices. That's also Pisces. You still have the same patterns and technique, the same patterns of what you of that you still have the same patterns that you fall into every single day, but you're expressing a different variation of that energy. And that's the main things people don't know. This is why they say astrology might be BS, because they don't know the keywords. Bare minimum, they don't know the words. They don't know. I didn't know. The same planet that points to anger is the same planet that points to your drive and intent. Logic would tell me God would separate those into two different things. God would tell me he would make these planets specifically say bad things, these planets say good things, and these, it don't work like that. This is why I don't necessarily read these books anymore. The path that took me in life had me to realize these books aren't going to apply to me. I need more. The path that life took me down let me know I needed more, because the people who did the best, who applied these books, had advantages I don't have. We live in the 21st century. It is the year 2023. There are problems in this world. There are major problems in this world that have been around for hundreds of years that you're just not going to get over or pretend doesn't exist. People who wrote these books, even though I can claim, depending on how they wrote, are actually good people, have advantages, karmic advantages based on things that happened before that I can't control, that made it so I can't do certain things and they can. What can I say? I'm already over an hour into the live stream, so I think I can talk about this. Most of these people who wrote these books are not of African, or let me say African, are not of Negroid descent. They're of a different race. And by default, living in this era, if you are of a certain race compared to another, you already have more advantages than the next person, whether you realize it or not. Where you live, your access to opportunities, the amount of safety in your neighborhood, these are all things that were preset before you were even born, because your great grandfather, their great grandfather had set a system in place to benefit their particular race, to benefit their particular culture better. Am I saying everybody in the world is still like this today? That doesn't matter whether you believe that or not. What matters and what is for a fact true is those benefits passed on to the next generation, and that generation that already had an advantage over the rest of the populace even pushed their advantage again, pushed it again, pushed it again, and now you have it, and now you're living in a situation with an advantage yourself. Or you know that because, and even though you may not have as much as an advantage as your great grandfather or your father before you may have had, by proxy alone of how you look or the race that you come from, you are treated differently in society. Not only in first world countries, third world countries as well. Based on how you look, you are treated differently. You are given access to things that other people can't access. This is what I'm going to say. You need to open your mind. I'm going to open your mind a little bit. It's not as black and white as I can manifest whatever I want. It don't work like that. It's not as black and white as when you're learning astrology, these planets will always point to bad things. These planets will always point to good things, like I've been teaching you. It doesn't work like that. Logic will tell you one thing. Your experience will do another. You know what's the death of logic? You know what logic hates? Experience. Logic is Gemini. I'm a Gemini sun sign. Logic is Gemini. The eighth house, hate. You know what? People who use their mind, people who are all about the mental. You know what they hate? Capricorn. You know what Capricorn represents? Experience. I'm telling you, Gemini, something. I'm thinking about something, Gemini. But when it comes down to the actual thing, it's different. Because I've actually experienced it, and I can tell you it doesn't work that way. You can come to a logical conclusion about something. In the face of somebody who's already done it, you will always be wrong. Or your opinion will always be less valid. Because you haven't experienced it. You haven't put in the actual time. Capricorn. You haven't done the math. You haven't done the math. Capricorn. And I had to learn this the hard way. I hated this too. I hate taking my time. I still to this day hate when things take too long or they take longer than I expect. I'm not gonna act like I'm above this energy. Astrology is a tool that lets you come to understand your life. You do not usurp it. It helps you to understand your life. You do not usurp it. When you're going through an eighth house transit, when the sun is running over, when the sun is conjunct trine in an aspect to your planet of hate, your planet of jealousy, you're going to experience something like that day. You're not going to escape it. Better, I say, to know that it's coming up. So when you're in the energy, you can realize that's just life. You don't have to sit there and question, why, man? Why me? Why is this happening? Why? Why now? You could just be, you can come out of that situation, or you can be in the midst of that situation saying, this is life. This is what the Creator promised me was going to happen today. This is just a part of it. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel better. And if you're, again, you're being a logistic person right now, if you're being a logistic person right now and saying, oh, but at the end of the day, da-da-da-da-da, knowing everything is pointless, and da-da-da-da-da-da, if it's going to happen anyways, that, again, you're doing exactly what I just told you. You are thinking without actual experience. You are thinking using words to justify something that you have no actual experience in. Me and the average astrologer are not the same, because I went above and beyond. I literally told myself, what these regular astrologers, this is how I was thinking. I was not even an astrologer yet, and I had the ego about me to do it. Because anything you say about Gemini, you could say about Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign that rules astrology. The same way I told you, anything you could say about Virgo, you could say about Scorpio. Aquarius has Aries in the 3rd house. Gemini rules the 3rd house. Gemini has Aries in the 11th house. Aquarius rules the 11th house. And it follows this pattern with every single sign that comes after, the exact same way. Aquarius has Aries, the 1st sign, in the place of the 3rd zodiac sign. Aries has 1 in the place of 3. And Gemini has 1 in the place of 11. Gemini is 3, Aquarius is 11. I didn't do this all mentally. There was a point in time where I had to write all of this down. And I still write to this day. And to be honest, I've been slacking. I'm not even going to lie. I've been slacking. I need to go back to writing. I need to go back to writing. And I hope this video is going to be a pep talk for me to get back and start it today. Because it's tedious. It is boring. Capricorn. Everything I just said is Capricorn. It's tedious, Capricorn. It is boring, Capricorn. But this is what makes you an authority, Capricorn. This is what makes you famous. This is what brings you your reputation, your status, your level of fame. This is all Capricorn. Not everybody's going to do this. And I've told you again, I have my sun. The sun is your life force, your personality, your vitality, your motivation, not your actions per se. Your actions is Mars. Your motivation, why you do things that you do. I have that on the 10th cusp. Capricorn is the 10th zodiac sign. I have my sun on the 10th cusp. That means my personality naturally lets me do things that are boring. Naturally lets me, I have a natural strength in doing math, in doing the math and things of that nature and intent. Not everybody has it. Some people may have bad aspects to Saturn. Some people may have Saturn in the 1st house, the 4th house, or the 7th house, for example. And if you have Saturn in those places, what's going to happen? Those are naturally challenging places or aspects for Saturn. And I told you, and if I haven't told you already, I'm going to tell you right now, everything comes with a price. I come off as boring. I can come off as a square. I've been told these things by people all my life. I asked the Creator why. He gave me the reason or tool to find out the answer. But I have that. I'm building the status. I'm building my fame. People know me as an authority. I don't get challenged that much anymore. And if I do get challenged, it's by somebody who knows nothing. And at that point in time, I could just block you. I don't need to waste another hour, 2 hours of my life trying to teach you something if you're just gonna come at me negatively because I make a statement. That's true. If you know me from my old YouTube videos and my channels, I will continue to bash these pseudoscientists, pseudo people who have a paradigm and belief. What they know is the only thing that can be true, and something that they haven't studied, put any time or effort and energy into learning themselves. I'ma always bash them and say, you can't do that. You can't just say it's bullshit. You can't just say that is wrong. When you have no experience, Capricorn, in it, you have no experience. All you know is what everybody else has told you. All you know is what everybody else told you. That's all you know. That's all you know. If you're a movie watcher and everybody says a movie sucks, don't do that. If you're a person who routinely watches movies, or if you've been watching movies your entire life, yeah, you have an idea of how movies work. I'll give you credit if you want to say that. I can give you credit if you want to say that. But if you're a person who knows nothing, watches an occasional movie like once a year, and somebody says a movie sucks, I don't take nobody's word for anything. Because I've learned the populace of people don't really know that much. They repeat what other people have said that know more than them. So it would be better for you to repeat something from somebody that actually knows something versus repeat something which you just heard in a crowd. Rather you go to the source and confirm it yourself than just rely on the mass public. Just because something is popular doesn't make it true or correct. Sorry to burst your bubble. You're wrong. You're wrong. Me and the average astrologer are not the same. We are not the same. They cannot do what I do. They wish they could. Most of them can't handle it. They couldn't handle the boredom. They couldn't handle the tediousness. Some of them literally are not at an intellectual level yet where they can even open their mind enough to understand the mathematics. They're just not. They're just not. So this is why it is my job, or this is why it's one of the things I do on the internet, to provide as accurate astrology as I can. Because again, people have been caught by me trying to lie to me before and tell me a lie, try to get me to believe astrology can't do more than it can. Trying to get me to believe or believe astrology cannot predict events happening to the day, cannot predict events happening to the hour. Within the hour, you're going to figure out X, Y, and Z is going to happen. People had me to even in most situations, I'm not even going to lie, I've seen things happen on the second, on the dot. On the dot, when a planet crosses over a cusp, I've seen it happen. Especially the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th cusp, I've seen it happen on the dot, on the spot. And this year that I'm in, this perfection year of my 12th house perfection year being in Leo, I'm really learning about karma. I'm really learning about things I've done in the past have led me to be in situations I am in here today. And it's also leading me to believe, because now I understand why I'm in situations that I am here today, good or bad. It helps me to now know. It helps me to know, okay, since the world actually works that way, since the world actually works the way that I'm telling you it does, now I can use the karma for my advantage. Because you learn from your mistakes. People learn from your mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. So when you made a mistake and you've learned from it, you have experience now. Now you have knowledge to make the situation work for you. It's okay to take an L. It's okay to fail. Capricorn, It's okay to fail because consistent effort, Capricorn, will guarantee you the result that you want, Capricorn. Just be persistent and consistent. Keep to your strategies. Keep to your ideas, even when hard things happen. Because Saturn is a malefic planet too. Saturn can mean the ending of something. At the same time, it points to guarantees. When Saturn comes around, it can mean a bad thing for you. But at the same time, when Saturn comes around, that could really push you to be an authority, for you to take on responsibility and do things in your nature. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's in the midst of you losing something, you going through that hardship, that you really build that authority or that responsibility aspect of yourself, the refinement of yourself through that motive. I found myself these past 4 or 5 couple of days reminiscing on fun I used to have as a child, watching streamers online playing video games that really made my childhood. Part of the reason why I do know the things that I do know, or I think the way that I do, is what I was exposed to as a youth. I was exposed to particular games. I was exposed to particular movies, fields of thought, books, even, where people expressed or people tried to really explain things to me that I wouldn't have thought otherwise. So I found myself reminiscing, 12th house, to the days of fun I had, sun, as a child, also the sun. So these last 5 days, I've been in this energy, and I realized it's going to be like this the entire year. It's going to be like this basically the entire year. And there are going to be ups, there might be downs. But this is my journey as I go through the astrology and bring you as much knowledge as well as I go through it. Anything else I wanted to say? But yeah, you change your habits. You have the exact same habit loop. You have the exact same habit loop, but you change your habits within that loop. Because depending on what energy you're going through, what planet is making an aspect in your chart, is going to determine what potential things you're going to run into. Mars in astrology, no matter what field of astrology you hear, will always point to fire, anger, aggression, taking action. There are certain rules to astrology, also Capricorn. There's certain rules that you don't break. Mars will always point to fire. You can't fake it. You can't fake it. Again, once you get to the point where I'm at, if you even get there and you start doing this yourself, when you see with like your own eyeballs the Mars taking effect in your life, and you're just like, whoa, I can see the matrix now. Like, actually see the matrix, because you're playing with it every day. That gives you that sense of power that you've been looking for. That sense of authority you've been searching for. And we're going back to the beginning of this live, where astrologers, not astrologers, even gurus that are not even astrologers might say, well, why would you even want to know that information? You're thinking too small. Ironic, isn't it? Or funny, isn't it? I'm saying that a guru is thinking too small. Who do I think I am, right? Somebody who puts in the work. Because putting in the work, Virgo challenges a guru, Sagittarius. People who put in the work can legitimately hold their own against someone who's considered a guru or a teacher. Because you put in the work, you have a skill, you have a craft, you understand how you understand. You'll never usurp that. You'll never usurp that. And in the midst of everything, is there astrologer on the face of this planet that knows every single little thing about astrology? No, it's impossible. But where some people, especially on the logic side, get it messed up is this. They believe that if what astrology is saying is true and everything in this universe can be seen by us, right? Not necessarily stopped, but seen by us, we can once stop it. No, you can't. I can go on the Weather Channel right now and see that, oh, there's going to be a typhoon or a tsunami going to hit my local area. I know about it. Tell me, how do I stop that? I can see you said on the news. We can tell when the natural disaster is about to come. We have more than a plethora of ways of doing that. How do you stop it? You don't. You are made privy to the knowledge that it exists. You don't stop it. You don't stop anything, really. So in that sense, when I say this, and I say it to be true, this universe has a sense of predestination to it. Yes, it does. Yes, it most for a fact does. Now, your local church, your local institution of belief won't really make a lot of income if everybody knew that. Obviously, obviously. But it must be known and it must be said. It must be known and it must be said. But does that mean an astrologer has figured out every single little last thing in between the universe? What do I mean that? What do I mean by that? Just because I can tell in the next 5 days you're gonna have a Mars. You're gonna be going through a situation or event in your life where you're gonna see a lot of red cars, ambulances, fire trucks, police force, in very large masses or volumes. You're just gonna run into these things, you're gonna see them. I make predictions for that for myself and for people regularly. Come get a reading. At the end of the day, here's where the sense of free will or willpower comes in. Here's where the sense of free will or willpower comes in. I'm not going to end the live stream until I get this point across. There is no astrologer on the face of the planet that can or will ever be or has ever been 100% accurate 24 hours a day, 360 degrees, or 365.25 days, right? There is no human on the face of this planet that is completely and utterly infallible. Sorry if you believe in the Pope. No. He is a human, just like you. He is a human, just like you. Every human is liable to make a mistake and can be in need of improvement. Your favorite author, the person that you fear, the person you admire, the person you look up to, the person you avoid, was born, is aging, living their life, and will one day pass, just like you. There are no reptilians. There are no extra aliens. These are things that I used to once believe and watch on a daily basis but never posted on my channel. I can't confirm an alien, neither can you. I cannot pull up into the street one day, you pull up with me and bring your alien friend. And we can go around with the alien friend and talk to everybody on the streets, record videos with us doing that. You know, it's not possible. No one's ever done it. That's all Pisces, fantasy, imagination. Aliens is Pisces. Outer space is Aquarius. Now people say aliens would live in outer space. Nope. Outer space in itself is Aquarius. Outer space is real. The sky is real. Aliens is speculation. Aliens is Pisces. Ghosts is Pisces. Zombies, ghouls, Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. Intuitive astrology, Pisces. You cannot intuit astrology. Being intuitive is Pisces. Nowhere ever in the history of astrology, nowhere ever in the history of astrology has astrology been ruled by the sign of Pisces, the 12th house, Neptune, or even Jupiter. Not that I can recall of, no. There are Hellenistic systems like the Joys, which their system is based off breaking the sun and the moon, or breaking down the earth into the light side and the dark side, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, seen and unseen part of the chart. There are schools like that, but has those energies ever been associated with making astrology or the study of the planets above you intuitive? No, never. It doesn't add up. I've seen it. I do this every day. When I'm having, anytime I'm doing astrology, talking about astrology, it has something to do with Uranus, the 11th house, the 11th cusp, hell, even Mercury, the third cusp, Gemini. Or there's a planet at the exact same degree as my Uranus, Uranus. Remember, experience beats your logic every single time. Experience will kill your logic every single time. Every single time. What people get wrong with astrology is that just because astrology can predict what's going to happen in the future doesn't mean the astrologer knows exactly what's going to happen. I already told you, when it comes to the planet Mars, Mars will always point to fire or fire-related things. But did you know there's hundreds of thousands of keywords for Mars? There isn't 5, 6, 7, 8 words that Mars can be. There are tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of keywords for what Mars could be. You think an astrologer has a list of 1,000,000 different words for Mars in their head? I have about 50 to like a couple hundred. But off the top, I have a list of a couple hundred. A little bit over a couple hundred. But off the top of my head, I could possibly at max remember anywhere to 30 to 50 words that Mars can mean. Even in those 30 to 50 words that I can remember off the top of my head, how am I supposed to know which one word will it could be? How? Better question, how do I know which combinations of words it is going to be? You can go to a basketball game, and on your way to a basketball game, you pass by a cop car, you pass by 3 red cars, you pass by an ambulance, you pass by a fire truck, and before you get to the basketball game, which is a sport, which is also Mars, you see the house or building that was burning down that required all those people to get there. All of those things were Mars. Tell me how a human is going to predict all of that. Exactly all of that. Astrology is like a telescope. It's a view into what life is gonna be like. At the end of the day, I can give you a synopsis of what you're gonna run into, but I cannot confirm for you every single time it's gonna be what you think it's gonna be. I'm gonna tell you an example. Jupiter points to luck and fortune, and getting lucky, getting fortunate. The 7th house points towards relationships. So Jupiter in the seventh house may be luck or fortune when it comes to finding a relationship. Venus is the sign of relationships. So if you have, and this is what happened to me, in my personal chart, in my progress chart, which is an advanced version of a natal chart, because a natal chart is the only a chart of your birth, and it's going to give you a flash view of what energies you'll be facing your entire life. It is the start point of where your chart starts, where you start in life, and how every reading is going to be based on after that point. It's the origin point, your spawn point, but it does not and will not describe every single moment that is happening to you in detail. There are people who will spend days, weeks, months, even years trying to study just the birth chart. You're never going to get anywhere with that. Trying to study just the birth chart. You're never going to get anywhere with that. No. No. If you're trying to predict events, no. Because that's not how time works. Let me tell you why that doesn't work. And I've really been going in. Let me tell you why that doesn't work. When you pull up your birth chart, you have to put in your date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth. Right here, right now. Is right here, right now, the exact same day, the exact same month, the exact same year, the exact same time, and the exact same location that it was when you were born? The obvious answer is no, it's not. Time moves forward. So does your chart. It is not your date of birth anymore. Matter of fact, you only get one birthday. You're only born once. Every other day that comes around is called your solar return. It's the anniversary of the day that you're born. You're only born once. Technically, it's not even technically. In actuality, you only have one birthday. Every other year is a solar return that comes after. It's a solar return. This is where the sense of freedom or free will comes in. The fact that as a human, you will never know it all. And this experience that we are having here, right now, while we are still alive. And keep in mind, your birth chart still affects you even after death. You can use the birth chart. You can use the birth chart of a person who is no longer here. You can read that person's birth chart and still see how that birth chart can affect the lives of the family members, friends, co-workers of the person that is no longer here. That's how deep this gets. You don't need to even be here anymore. Or I can look to an ancestor of yours. I can look to your grandma that passed. I can look in your grandma's chart and find you, your siblings, your parents, your cousins. I can even find your boss, your coworker through your grandma's chart. If you know how to look at it, if you know how to play with the wheel. See how deep this gets? But I will only ever be able to give you a general description. The only person who will ever know exactly how that who the only person who will ever know exactly how that situation is going to play out is you yourself. This is why this is when I came to understand this is why I realized, dang, I really need to become an astrologer, because the only person who could read my chart to the best ability is me. Because only I know how that energy is going to play out. I already know that I'm not a fighter. So anytime I have the planet Mars happening to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to get into a fight. I know for me, that's going to be me taking action towards improving myself, working on astrology. Maybe it might be me getting angry as well. Nobody knows your chart better than yourself. But if you don't even know how to read it, you have no choice but to go to an astrologer. And if you really know how to read it, and I mean, you really know how to read your chart because you can do the math and you can calculate the dates. It's math. It's proper understanding of dates and time. You got to understand how time works if you want to be a pro astrologer or at a level that I am at. You got to really look at that chart and be like, you know what? There's math behind this. You got to look at a natal chart and be like, what do these numbers mean? What do the numbers mean? How do the numbers work? But most people, as soon as you start talking about the math when it comes to astrology, tune out. I understand. Again, I understand why now. Capricorn points to being boring. Capricorn is also the sign that points to boredom, is also the sign that points to all forms of mathematics. Most people just don't know this. It blows my mind. It still blows my mind to this day. It's been over a year and it still blows my mind to the day. Like, wow, how poetic that is. It makes everything seem so much clearer. It makes everything make and feel so much clearer and make much more sense once you just know how it works. Once you know how it works. Mm-hmm. So an astrologer, when they read your chart, is never going to know 100% how the energy is going to manifest for you. They might be 90% accurate, 95% accurate even, but they're never going to be able to jump into your shoes, jump into your body, and experience what you experience. That is where the free will comes in. The free will comes at the end of the day, a prediction is nothing but that, a prediction. And a prediction only matters when the event happens, when you can confirm were you right or wrong. That is the only time it will ever matter. Don't ever listen to an astrologer that will outright tell you this is going to happen in your life. This is how you are. This da 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 da. Or never go to an astrologer that will definitively tell you on this day you will experience this, and it'll be exactly like that. No, you can't attest for that. You cannot predict that. No, not 100% of the time. Obviously not. No, no. An astrologer who cannot admit that they have been outright wrong before is crazy to me. That they made a prediction and based on the limited number of keywords that they had, what they ended up predicting didn't fall. They didn't give the client the keyword that actually described what they were going through. Again, millions of keywords for every single planet. Out of the 50 to 100 I may know off the top of my head, you may be going through something on that day that is not in my keyword list. I don't know all forms of Mars. I don't know all forms of Mercury. I know more than the average astrologer. Promise you that. And if I can tell you that, there's no what excuse do they have? What excuse do they have for real? And this really applies to any field that you go into or you try to learn or work from. It's still the case. But yeah, I think that was it. Astrology is a tool to help you know and get an advantage in your life. Oh yeah, I was telling a story. I'm gonna end it with this. Jupiter is the planet of luck and fortune. Seventh house points towards relationships. Venus is relationships. Now I don't remember exactly if Venus was in the same sign as Jupiter during that period in time. It might have been, or it might have been in a different sign that was very complementary, like the second house. But I do remember for a fact Jupiter being in the seventh, and the seventh house at that time, on the particular day that I was looking at it, the seventh house at that time was ruled by Gemini. Gemini is libraries. So what did I do? I went to my local library that day on the exact time that Jupiter was going to be crossing over the seventh cusp. I went to the exact location, or I went to a particular location where the energy could manifest on the right day at the right time. This is where the power in astrology comes from. And I'm thinking, I'm a manifest this energy, get a new relationship right here, right now. You can't force the chart to do anything you want it to do. But guess what? The chart wasn't wrong. I got to the library, went inside, saw a couple of potential females. None of them were really my type. And the one of them that I potentially saw that I wanted to talk to or have interest in was with another male and another female, and they were in the middle of a lesson or a lecture. And I was in about to run up into the middle of somebody, a grown man teaching, just to hit on a female in the middle of that. It wasn't gonna happen that way. So I get out of the library, and as I'm about to make my way back to the car, I see back to my car. I see a female wearing all blue, highlights in her hair, come out of the car, walk into a restaurant. She gave me a look. Walk into a restaurant. As soon as I try to walk into the restaurant right behind her, she goes to stand right next to a guy wearing all blue just like her. They were together. Here's the funny thing. Jupiter points to royal blue. She had all blue highlights in her hair, wearing an all blue fit. And she went to go stand next to her man, or who I assumed was her man, because of the way they were talking, and the fact that he was wearing all blue as well. They were wearing matching fits. And they walked into a restaurant. Venus rules Libra. Venus rules the second house. Venus points to restaurants. I left the library, Gemini, to come to Venus, a Venus ruled planet, Libra. I found two people that were in a relationship, and they were wearing all blue, Jupiter. You don't make this up. The chart didn't lie. The chart didn't lie to me. What the chart promised I would see, I saw that day. Where I got it messed up, where most people get it messed up, is you think you can manipulate the chart to always do what you want it to do. You can't force anything in life. You thought you can manipulate the chart to get it to do what you wanted to do. That's not how it works. The chart will never lie to you. It's never going to lie to you. It is just not guaranteed to give you the particular outcome that you wanted. Same way you cannot stop a natural disaster when it's coming, but you can tell it's coming up. Is the same way you can have plans to have the energy manifest for you the way that you want. And the energy does manifest, but it's just not in the exact connotation that you wanted it to. And that's why when I watch certain videos of on astrologers telling you, oh, use this energy today to manifest, da da da, that's very optimistic. Doesn't work that way. But if every time you run into those energies, every time that you see that energy coming up in your life, one of those days is going to happen. Remember what I told you earlier, karma. Remember what I told you earlier, Capricorn, guarantees. You do something enough times, you do it for a long enough period of time, after enough L's are taken, after enough losses are taken, Capricorn, no matter how many years and how much time it takes, Capricorn, after enough period of time, you are guaranteed the result that you're looking for. You may not get it in the time frame that you were looking for, but you got the result anyways. That applies to everything in life. You wanted to graduate school in 4 years, it actually took you 8 to 12. You graduated school though. You wanted to start your business and get into a float by the 3rd year, it took you into the 7th. That's how it works though. You wanted to find happily love ever after with a partner, and you wanted that partner to be with you forever. You finally got it after like the 10th to 12th relationship, but you got what you wanted eventually. We already believe and know life to work this way. I'm just trying to get people to understand that astrology is a part of that too. It's just a more in-depth, accurate way for us to easily understand that principle and concept. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. This was almost 2 hours. I always give content. Peace.